It's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
It's time for the biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
It's a very good evening, Zimbabwe. We always look forward to Fridays because it is number one, Fire Friday. We play music that gets your weekend started. And then secondly, it's our preview show. So we throw forward to all the events you can look forward to and sometimes give you predictions. And remember, they are only predictions. We are not prophets and we don't own churches. Those that don't own churches are part of the ZiFM sports team. They are Mike, Alois, Sean, and me, Barry. On the home front today, we start with news that ZiFA has appointed Chief Executive Officer of Harare City Football Club, Tafadzwa Basera, as the team manager of the Mighty Warriors. In international sports news, Six Nations is back, and Ireland are determined to lift the mood of a country that is back in coronavirus lockdown by delivering a bonus point win over Italy that would lift them to the top of the Six Nations table.
We'll then take you around the world in 60 with our international sports news, beginning in Portugal, where Sebastian Vettel admits he can do better with his performances as the four-time champion bids to end his Ferrari career with dignity over the final 2 months of the season. In the United Arab Emirates IPL action, Jofra Archer scorched Sunrisers top order, only for Manish Pandey's 83 not out of just 47 balls condemned Rajasthan Royals to an 8-wicket defeat. And in the United States, Justin Thomas and Tyrell Hatton sit a shot off the lead after a low-scoring opening day at the Zozo Championship as Tiger Woods made a nightmare start to his title defense.
Then we dive into the beautiful game, and I do literally mean dive because there is lots to look forward to. We kick off in La Liga where bitter rivals Barcelona and Real Madrid will lock horns in the first Casico of the season tomorrow afternoon, with both sides looking to bounce back from La Liga defeats last time out. In England, after midweek glory in Paris, Manchester United's Premier League campaign resumes with a mouth-watering game against Chelsea at Old Trafford. In the Bundesliga, Borussia Dortmund will look to rebound after their disappointing Champions League loss in the first Riviera derby of the season against Schalke 04 tomorrow. And we'll also run our eye over the weekend action in Serie A, not to mention the fact that there's league football that kicks off in South Africa with the start of the new DStv Premiership. There's also CAF Champions League semi-final action. My goodness, it's going to be frantic, it's going to be frenetic, but then if it was anything else, it wouldn't be Fire Friday. Here's Sweet Melody, it's Little Mix.
The Warriors, the Chevrons, the Cheetahs, the Mighty Warriors, and the Sables. From the pool to the track to the field, we are Team Zimbabwe. The Home Front. Local sports news and analysis.
Let's catch up on social media. Why don't you follow at ZiFM Sport and be on the cutting edge of all matters sport. You can follow us in our individual capacities as well at Mike Madoda, at Gazaman14 for Alois, at Sean Tafirinika, at Chris Midzi for Christine, at Mark Pozzo for the big man, and I'm on at Barry Manandi. Let's get into it. On the home front, ZiFA have made an appointment and they've appointed Chief Executive Officer of Harare City Football Club, Tafadzwa Basera, as the team manager for the Mighty Warriors. The appointment was made with immediate effect, and Basera will work with the association on an ad hoc basis as she replaces Charity Mujiti. Basera will be responsible for logistical and welfare issues of the Mighty Warriors and will work closely with the general manager of all national teams, Wellington Mpandare. That, of course, is excerpts from the announcement made by ZiFA, and I'd like to pick your brain, Michael. They say working closely with the general manager, surely it should be reporting to the general manager of national teams in this new structure. Let's hear your thoughts on the new structure and also this appointment.
Well, let me start with the new structure. Wellington Mpandare being, of course, named the general manager of all national teams. And I don't think it's a bad move. I think it allows someone to sit there at head office and actually exert their energy and their time towards making sure that the business is done as far as our national team assignments are concerned. And, of course, everything else involved with our national teams. And then you have the national team managers, of course, that then sit and work under Wellington Mpandare. Of course, you got the Warriors, the men's national team, the Mighty Warriors, which is where Tafadzwa Basera comes in. Now, I love Tafadzwa, and she's, of course, the CEO of Harare City Football Club. I just don't understand why she's being appointed as a manager to a national team, someone who occupies such a high office in local football. I also think it's a damning indictment, Barry, on the women's game in Zimbabwe, that we have to be appointing the CEO of a Premier Soccer League club, and yet we've got women's teams in our Premier Soccer League, our Ladies Premier Soccer League, who have got managers, who've got women's administrators who are participating in that arena. Are you trying to tell me that none of them were found competent? None of them were found to have the ability to sit on the bench as manager and to take care of the business? And listen, Barry, we need someone who's competent in logistics. We need someone who's competent in organization, who brings their organizational skills to this office. This is a day-to-day job, Barry. This is not something that you do on an ad hoc basis. Feel like when a national team assignment crops up. What happens when Harare City is now involved in league action, involved in competition? You're sitting in the office of the CEO, which is supposed to be a day-to-day occupation as well. Which one takes precedence? Surely we got someone who's able to occupy the office of Mighty Warriors manager and do the job on a full-time basis.
Alois, to play devil's advocate, from what Mike is saying, it's a day-to-day job being the team manager of the Mighty Warriors. You can't have it on an ad hoc basis, and ZiFM, by their own admission, say that Tafadzwa will work on an ad hoc basis. To you, we've had team managers for certainly the national team who have worked on a part-time basis. Is it a full-time job, being the team manager for the Mighty Warriors?
Yes, Barry, for a nation that actually needs progress, it has to be a full-time job, because it's not just about waiting for COSAFA tournament. It's not just about waiting for an AFCON qualifier. There are a lot of things that needs to be done. You go for camps, you assess players, you communicate with the players, the injured players. Every time you are the one who is informing the coach that so-and-so is unavailable, such and such. You commit all those things. It's the day-to-day. You don't have to wait for a particular match so that you can come and call the players, then you rearrange the passports. It's not about passports. It's not about getting 10 passports, 15 passports of the players and running around during a camp. No, it's actually a day-to-day thing that needs to be done. The manager should actually have an office at the ZiFM offices, to do this. But I agree with Mike 100%, Perry, on this one.
Yeah, Alois, you're making
but
very
we had Sharif Musa, guys.
I think we have been guilty, Barry, of viewing the national team as something that is a part-time gig. So what do? Which is why we are so disorganized, because we wait for the national team to have assignments, to have a date before we start doing any planning, before we start doing the organizing. That's not how it operates. Just because the national team plays 10 or 12 matches a year doesn't mean that's when you actually assemble and start getting the work done. You are mentioning the likes of Sharif Musa, who did the job on a part-time basis. And yes, he did the job on a part-time basis, but that's not how it's supposed to be done. Just because it's been done like that in the past doesn't mean that's the professional way and the proper way to do it. We need, Barry, to move the game into the professional era. How do we do it? We do it by making the right decisions, by making the right appointments, and by holding people's feet to the fire.
Doesn't that sit in the office of the general manager, though, guys? Alois, look at it from this perspective. The office of the GM, that's a day-to-day job. They've said that the GM is going to be there, Wellington Mpandare. He's going to be there on a day-to-day basis, making sure that the national teams are catered for. So everything else that falls outside of match days.
Are you trying to tell me that Mpandare is going to be making the follow-ups that Alois was talking about around our ladies who are playing in the different teams around the country? He's going to be making the follow-up on our under 23 teams. He's going to be making the follow-up on our under 17 teams. He's going to be making the follow-up on our Warriors and doing all that work. That's not what the general manager should be doing. The general manager should be providing oversight from an executive level, not to do the day-to-day running.
Thank you, Mike. Definitely. You know, we have got under 15 men and women. We've got under 17 men and women, under 20 men and women, under 23 men and women, warriors, mighty warriors. You can't be sitting there as Wellington Pandara and monitoring all those things because we have accepted the abnormal, so we are running it as normal. That's the problem that we are doing in Zimbabwe. So for us here, we are talking about the normal, what needs to be done. We know we don't need to wait for one particular match so that we can start running around. The manager's duty is not only when the team is in camp. No, it's day to day. Even if we've got in 3 months' time, we've got a mighty warriors game. She should be actually be preparing, getting ready. There are a lot of things that managers do, Barry. It's not about just organizing a game. There are a lot of things.
Well, Tafadzwa herself, by ZiFM's admission in their statement, says that she brings a vast experience in the women's game and the association. She's been working with the association in various capacities since 2010.
Does any of that experience, Barry, does any of that experience involve managing a football team?
Well, she holds the prestigious advanced diploma in management.
You haven't answered my question. Does any of the experience involve managing a football team?
No, at this stage, as far as we know, she hasn't done any of that in her engagement with the Football Association.
You see, Barry, playing a devil's advocate right for her now, we don't know if she was gonna do it well or not because she hasn't done anything yet. So she might actually come out to be good at it. So we don't know. But what we are saying is at ad hoc versus, we don't want that at national team level. We want somebody who is employed to come and do a job. But we can't say she's not good enough because we don't know yet.
We've got to talk very quickly about the very normal, not abnormal, Mighty Warriors. They've been placed in a tricky group in the COSAFA Championships draw, which was conducted yesterday. And Zimbabwe has been placed in Group C with Botswana and Tanzania. Mikey, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's a fair group, Barry. It's a group that Zimbabwe, under normal circumstances, would have negotiated their way through. The only problem is that we don't quite know at what level our players are at the moment because we haven't had a kick-off football in 2020. So that's a worrying thing for me. Do our players have the conditioning? Do they actually have it in them to go and compete favorably? We know that under normal circumstances, Barry, Zimbabwe certainly would have been odds-on favorites to make their way out of this group. So we'll wait with bated breath to see if the girls will be able to put on a show.
Well, we'll also wait and see if they are organized in all of this because Tafadzwa Basera will take command and control of this. Alois, your thoughts very quickly on the groups, and I can talk about Group A and Group B before we wrap this up.
Yeah, I think we're in a favorable group. You know, when I looked at the groups, I actually saw Zimbabwe qualifying. You know, the other group has got Zambia. Group B has got Zambia. I see Zambia qualifying, and I don't know the format yet. Probably because I saw Group A has got 4 teams. Probably 2 teams are going to qualify from Group A. Then one team each from Group B and C. So I see us topping that group, and Zambia topping the other group, and then South Africa. I don't know who else comes out there, but I see Zimbabwe going through to the semi-final.
All right, just looking at those groups that Alois was alluding to, Group A consists of South Africa, the Kingdom of Eswatini, the Comoros, Angola. And then Group B are Zambia, Malawi, and Lesotho. And then Group C consists of Zimbabwe, Botswana, and Tanzania, as we said earlier. The tournament will run from November the 3rd to the 18th at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium in Port Elizabeth. And the format, as you were talking about, Alois, is that in those 3 groups, the group winners qualify for the semi-finals as well as the best runner-up, making up the semi-final lineup. So Zimbabwe needs to win the group or at least finish with a creditable second to get into the semi-finals. We say go Mighty Warriors, go.
Hi, my name is Runi Shamba, Mighty Warriors Super Striker. You're listening to ZiFM Sports.
Time for your local sports news roundup, starting with cricket, where Zimbabwe Cricket have confirmed that 2 local cricketers, Regis Chakaba and Timison Maruma, have tested positive for COVID-19. The duo, who are not part of the Chevrons, currently touring Pakistan, were roommates for a week in a biosecure bubble set up for players who are on standby at the Zimbabwe Cricket Academy House in Harare. 2 other members of staff who were providing support services at the same facility have also tested positive for the coronavirus. In golf news, informed Zimbabwean professional golfer Robson Chinoi continued with his fine form by capturing the second leg of the Safari Tour Golf Series at the par 72 Royal Nairobi Golf Club course in Kenya. Chinoi and countryman Visitor Mapkanya are making strides on the East African Golf Tour, where they've managed several top 10 finishes after the national lockdown. The Zimbabwean walked away with the top prize at the weekend following a brilliant round of 5 under par 67 in the closing round. We'll wrap it up with news coming out of the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League, which is the top-tier domestic football. The proposed bio-bubble concept, which is expected to take the format of a 2-week mini-league tournament in December as domestic football returns in a phased approach, has been thrown into uncertainty, with ZIFA and the government both refusing to take responsibility for the costs of running what will, in fact, be a pre-season tournament. Although the government, through the Sports Ministry, green-lighted the resumption of football under strict COVID-19 regulations, it has refused to commit itself to funding the tournament, which is expected to gobble over $1 million, while the Sports and Recreation Commission, the SRC, has clarified that ZIFA and its affiliates will finance the tournament. The Football Federation yesterday declined to commit itself to fully funding the tournament.
Hi, this is Mike Madod, and you can catch me and the team for all the latest breaking news out of the world of sport, local as well as international, on your favorite station, my station, your station, ZiFM. We are Z-Team on ZiFM Sport.
Z. From the front of the grid to the back of the net, it's ZiFM Sport. International Sports News Roundup, where the world comes out to play.
Don't forget, the second half of the show is always the beautiful game. And of course, there are big games this weekend, but none bigger in world football than El Casico, the clash between Barcelona and Real Madrid, which will be played at the new camp tomorrow afternoon. Can't wait to preview that for you together with Alois Munjira and Barry Menandi. But before we get there, we got some international sport, and rugby returns to the Northern Hemisphere in the form of international rugby this coming weekend. And Ireland are determined to lift the mood of a country that is back in coronavirus lockdown by delivering a bonus point win over Italy that would lift them to the top of the Six Nations table. The Northern Hemisphere tournament returns this weekend, 7 months after it was put on hold as COVID-19 rampaged across Europe. 5 points from the match in Dublin will take Andy Farrell's men 1 point clear of England and France ahead of the final round of matches the following week. And let's get the pre-match thoughts of Ireland's coach, Andy Farrell.
We all know what kind of times it is, and we can all talk about the responsibilities that we've got. And we are desperate to help lighten the mood, but we can't put any more type of pressure on our shoulders. You know, how we lighten the mood is make sure that we look after our own backyard and make sure that the performance is fitting for what people want to see.
Z.
Barry, if there was ever a game that you'd say it's a shoo-in where Ireland are guaranteed the win, it's this clash versus Italy. The only thing that we can discuss is whether they'll be able to bag the bonus point.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because classically everything is set up for Ireland. They had the form, put it in inverted commas. Number two, they're also very fast starters. When they've had time to recuperate, they are very fast starters. And then also their attacking prowess is without question. So for me, I think the result is not in question. What is in question is how many tries they were able to run in, whether they're able to get that bonus point and put some pressure on the teams above.
And of course, there's just that one match this coming weekend. Why? Because that's the only match that wasn't played before the lockdown on match day 4 of the Six Nations. And then the competition is going to be completed next week. What it means, Barry, though, is that we've got the potential of a barnstorming finish to this particular tournament. Should Ireland win, and go on to beat France in Paris, then points difference could actually decide the title, with Eddie Jones' England travelling to Rome to play against Italy, who of course everyone has been beating and beating thoroughly. So this has been a very exciting Six Nations tournament in spite of the COVID-19 pandemic.
It certainly has, and the only detraction, I would say, is the fact that we're wrapping up without fans. So when you've got, like for instance, this coming weekend, Lansdowne Road, which ordinarily would be throbbing with 50,000 fans baying for Italian blood, you've actually got empty stands. But the action on the field and the engagement and excitement, as you quite rightly point out, this has been a phenomenal Six Nations tournament.
Okay, but there's some warm-up matches that are going to be on. France taking on Wales in a friendly match, and England taking on the Barbarians. We'll give you results of those ones on a Monday. In South Africa, Super Rugby Unlocked continues. The Pumas are up against the Stormers. The Bulls will take on the Sharks, and the Lions play versus the Cheetahs.
Hi, I'm JC Krill, Springbok and Blue Bulls backline player. You are listening to ZiFM Sports.
Around the world in 60 seconds. International sports news.
Around the World in 60 is proudly brought to you by DSTV, proud sponsors of the soon-to-kick-off DSTV Premiership in Mzansi, South Africa. We begin in Portugal, where Sebastian Vettel admits he can do better with his performances as the four-time champion bids to end his Ferrari career with dignity over the final 2 months of the season. Vettel enters the final 6 races of his career in red, a lowly 13th in the Drivers' Championship, with just 17 points scored so far, only one of which has come in the last 5 rounds. Teammate Charles Leclerc, by sharp contrast, has scored more than 3 times Vettel's points to total and leads 9-2 in their qualifying head-to-head. In the United Arab Emirates, Jofra Archer scorched Sunrisers Hyderabad's top order, only for Manish Pandey's 83 not out of 47 balls to condemn Rajasthan Royals to an 8-wicket defeat. Archer knocked over David Warner and Johnny Bairstow in a potent opening spell of 2 for 5 to reduce Sunrisers to 16 for 2 after his 16 not out 7 balls had helped spur Royals to 154 for 6 in Dubai. But the England paceman, now the third highest wicket taker in the competition with 15, ended up on the losing side as Pandey plundered his 18th IPL 50, putting on an unbroken stand of 140 off 97 deliveries. Wrap it up in the United States, where Justin Thomas and Tyrrell Hatton sit a shot off the lead after a low-scoring opening day at the Zozo Championship. As Tiger Woods made a nightmare start to his title defense, Thomas fired a back 929 to join Hatton in tied second on 7 under and within a shot of Sebastian Munoz, who set the pace at Sherwood Country Club. Not the local Sherwood Country Club, mark you. After 2 eagles and 8 birdies helped him to an eventful opening round of 64. Action at the Zozo Championship continues throughout the weekend on your favorite DSTV set of channels. That is, of course, Super Sport. And to be specific, Super Sport Golf.
Hi, I'm Clemens Matau, chicken in midfielder. You're listening to ZiFM Sports.
The big leagues, the big teams, the big players. The beautiful game on ZiFM Sport. The league that makes football oh so beautiful. Where artistry and strokes of genius are the order of any day. Where the game is played with a smile and the little master creates his magic.
It's Lionel Messi!
All the news from the Spanish La Liga on ZiFM Sport.
The goal the world wants it!
Here on ZiFM Sport, we love to put our best foot forward. That's why we're starting with arguably the biggest game in world of football. That is El Casico. Bitter rivals Barcelona and Real Madrid locking horns in the first Clásico of the season tomorrow afternoon. Both sides looking to bounce back from La Liga defeats last time out. Of course, Barcelona losing 1-0 away at Getafe, and then Real Madrid suffering a shock 1-0 defeat at home to Cadiz. Need I say that Real Madrid are the reigning champions in La Liga. Now, French football journalist Julien Laurent says for Barcelona, Antoine Griezmann place in the team for tomorrow's Casico will be a headache for Ronald Koeman.
I think this one is going to be very, very interesting. What is Koeman going to do? Do you leave Griezmann on the bench? And you can, like, you would think right now, okay, Koeman can well say to Griezmann, listen, you were on the bench, we played really, we did well without you, so you're going to stay on the bench. That's not what I'm getting. That's not what I'm being told. I think Griezmann will be on the pitch. I think he should be on the pitch. Yes, I do think that he should have a run at number 9 if that's where you want him to play. If you want him on the right-hand side, like Koeman said before, no problem. Play him there and have discussions with him, make him work like this at training, and he will improve, he will get better.
Now, Mikey, we've been involved in sport for long enough, and so is Alois, probably even longer than us. But there is the old adage that winning team haichinje. You reckon that's true, especially for Antoine Griezmann? He's on a slippery wicket there.
Yeah, absolutely. Barcelona looked far much more fluid in midweek in the Champions League without him in the side. They had the likes of Dembele, Ousmane Dembele, who had a barnstorm. Lionel Messi looked close to his best again. I think he was given a rating of 10 by most media outlets this midweek in the Champions League. So he was absolutely fantastic. So the question will be, do you want to disrupt that to bring in Antoine Griezmann, who's hardly looked the part for Barcelona? He doesn't look like he's a Barcelona type player. He doesn't seem to be up to speed. He doesn't seem to do things the Barcelona way. He doesn't make the right runs or have the right movement. So whilst he's a good player, a star player, the question has always been, is he a fit for Barcelona? So Koeman, rightly so, he's got a big decision to make.
And Koeman himself, Alois, is under pressure, and the pressure, let me explain that. The pressure is not necessarily that he's likely to lose his job or whatever the case may be, but he wants to make a splash in his new position at Barcelona. And when you want to make a splash and show that my era has begun, I've got the team playing the way I want it to play, you can't make any concessions for any one player, least of all Antoine Griezmann, who Mike is saying doesn't look a Barcelona player.
Exactly, Barry. You want your team to play as fluidly as they can, and you want your team to score goals and to play entertaining football at the same time. That's the Barcelona way of playing football. Remember when we discussed that, when the French coach was talking about Griezmann being used out of position and all that, I said a player just needs to adapt, make use of that position, and play to the best of your ability. Play from there. Now Dembele is playing on that right side, but he uses left as well. He's coming inside, he's cutting inside, he's scoring goals from that very side. So what does the coach do now? You can't pull out a player who is doing well for a player just because he's a big name, then you start disrupting the whole system. You're not going to do that. So once a player, you're positioned in a particular position, don't sulk. Just play. I saw a commentary recently about Philipp Lahm. Philipp Lahm, they said that he has been man of the match in almost 5-6 different positions. Whichever positions he's put in Germany, he's man of the match. He's played left back, he's man of the match. You play him dealing, he's man of the match. That's what a professional player does. Get in there at all. So unfortunately, Antoine Griezmann is not doing himself any favors, and I don't see him commanding a regular place in that team. Once this team is kicking on, like it is now, he's kicking on, and he's going to be left out.
It reminds me, Barry, of the Fernando Torres situation after he left Liverpool to join Chelsea. Fernando Torres at Liverpool, he was the fulcrum of the attack. He was the tip of the arrow. Xabi Alonso, Steven Gerrard, Javier Mascherano, who were playing in central midfield, everything they did was towards making sure that Fernando Torres got scoring opportunities and got the ball in the right areas. Stevie G was constantly looking up for those Fernando Torres runs. He then joined Chelsea, where there were so many players who contributed in attack. Frank Lampard, Didier Drogba, all those players demanded the ball in the attacking third. And this is the same situation I'm seeing with Antoine Griezmann, where he's coming from Atletico Madrid, where he was the tip of the arrow. He's coming from Atletico Madrid, where all the attacking play was centered around him. The attack was built around Antoine Griezmann. At Barcelona, it's not. Lionel Messi is the main guy in attack. He's the man who's pulling the strings. There are also other contributors as well who can chip in with goals and creative play in the final third. So, like I keep saying, I don't think Antoine Griezmann is a fit at Barcelona. It's been too long for him to be bedding in, too long for him to be adjusting. Good players don't need long to adjust.
Yeah, and we're talking about a player who is unlikely to even get a sniff of action in our Casico. All right, let's talk about a guy who will definitely be there at the Casico, a man who is also under pressure, Alois, and that is Zinedine Zidane. Following up that shock 1-0 loss to Cadiz, with a Champions League loss to Shakhtar Donetsk, it ended 3-2. This man needs this result far more. Listen, Koeman still needs a result, but let me tell you, if there's a man under pressure, it's Zizou.
Yeah, of course, Barry Zizou is under pressure. 2 losses to, for me, much weaker sides than Real Madrid. He lost to teams that everybody expected them to beat. And it was a very good trying to come back from behind against Shakhtar. Yeah, that was commendable. Second half commendable performance, but still they lost. So he is so under pressure. He needs the result, because once he doesn't win this one, that will be 3 in a row, and it's not good for Real Madrid.
Mikey, you got to say that a key to a Real Madrid performance, I'm not even going to talk about the results, just a performance from Real Madrid has got to be their captain, Sergio Ramos. They seem a very different team with and without him. And listen, it's up in the air whether he'll be available, but they sorely need him back in the side, because against Shakhtar, they looked a pale shadow of themselves.
Yeah, Barry, listen, he is a guy that brings leadership. He brings defensive stability, organization. Sometimes when we discuss the worth of players, and that's where people don't get it, we've got a generation that loves to throw stats and tell us that this player has got X amount of goals, this player has got assists, this player is doing that. But when you watch football, you know the good players from the bad players. You know the great ones from the average ones. And sometimes the great ones might not have the stats to back them up. But when you take a look at Sergio Ramos, he's one of the great ones, because his influence in the side is telling. When he's in that team is a team of world beaters. When you remove him from that team is very beatable, as Cadiz has shown. He limped off at half-time. Cadiz went and saw that game through and got 3 points at the Alfredo Stefano in Madrid. He was missing versus Shakhtar Donetsk. They were beaten by sides like Alois said that they were fully expected to beat. So that's the value of the man. How do you measure influence? It's not measurable, Barry, by any of these statistics that our social media pundits love to throw stats. You can't measure that, but he's Real Madrid's most important player. Look at Varane. He looks like an average bang. He looks like Harry Maguire when he's without Sergio Ramos.
Michael being very harsh and talking about the issue of stats. Right, I want some predictive statistics from you on scorelines, gentlemen. How will this one end, Alois?
Now, looking at it with the way it's going, it looks like Ramos won't play. So without Ramos, like Mike said, they look average, and especially the defense look so average. So I'm looking at a situation where if he doesn't play, 3-1 to Barcelona.
3-1, whoa, a blowout. Mikey?
2-1 to Barcelona, I think.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with you, Mike. I think it's going to be a 2-1 victory to Barcelona. I expect Ansu Fati to put on a show and cement his position as the rising star in the Blaugrana. It all happens tomorrow afternoon. Don't miss it. But there's other action in La Liga. Elche takes on Valencia. Osasuna host the Athletic Club of Bilbao. Sevilla versus Aiba. Atletico Madrid versus Real Betis. Real Valladolid host Alaves, while Cadiz, fresh from that fantastic victory over Real Madrid, take on Villarreal. Getafe take on Granada, while Real Sociedad take on Huesca. And with respect to all of those other clubs, no doubt the eyes of the world will be trained upon El Clásico. Barcelona take on Real Madrid.
There's also a big game in England. Manchester United, they beat PSG midweek in the UEFA Champions League. They're up against Chelsea, who drew at home to Sevilla. We're going to get that to that game in a minute. But before that, let me just give you the weekend fixtures. Aston Villa and Leeds United get the action underway tonight. So if you're a fantasy footballer, you need to make sure you make those changes just about now. You don't have much time left. So guys, give me your captain's pick. Barry, who are you picking for captain?
Sonny from Tottenham Hotspur. I think that, listen, he's bang on form. I think you can't go wrong with him.
Son from Spurs. Alois sticks with one man. His captain is Harry Kane. And he's gonna be sticking with them. And I'm not going to be giving any advice. We agreed that I've been leading. So I'm not going to be giving any advice whatsoever on fantasy football. So do catch the show on Monday. We'll be letting you know who the top 3 performers are in the Z Fantasy League. The rest of your fixtures, West Ham versus Manchester City will be the game that gets action underway on Saturday afternoon. Fulham versus Crystal Palace, Liverpool versus Sheffield United, Southampton will welcome Everton to the South Coast, Wolves versus Newcastle, Arsenal versus Leicester City. That's a good game for both of them. Both of them needed to bounce back after setbacks last weekend. But the key fixture, the big one of this weekend, is Ole versus Frank. It's United versus Chelsea, and it's at Old Trafford. Let's get the pre-match thoughts of both managers.
Like many of us, there's been some very good games, some lesser good performances, and I think football is it's just settling now. I think teams are getting into their shape, and we know it's going to be a tough game against Chelsea. We had four games against them last season. I think maybe 4 or 5 the season before. So it's 2 teams that know each other really well.
The league's unpredictable. You could analyse Manchester there. We could talk about certain games where big teams have conceded a lot of goals, or there's been big turnarounds in games. We've been part of one of those, so have others. So I'm not really interested in that. And I think Manchester United are a very good team. We played them enough last year to know that. And I'm not concerned in what might have happened in games before. I take them at face value.
Alois, contrasting fortunes, as it were, for these teams in midweek in the Champions League. Manchester United, though, with a big boost of a win versus PSG. Unexpected, but it was a good performance.
Yeah, I think what it did for Manchester United is moral boosting. You know, they are going into that match knowing that we're coming from the back of a very big victory in France. So it's quite a good boost. But don't discount Chelsea. Like I said, they drew 0-0 against Sevilla. A Sevilla that is very unpredictable, that can beat anyone anywhere in the world, and they did well to hold them. And from my observation, from how I saw Chelsea, I thought that they played a very good game, a very comfortable game. They've got a very good team. They've got a good side. If you look at player by player, they've got a very young side that has got world-class players, and they acquired good players as well. When you look at their team, they look like they are very balanced. On their day, they can beat anybody. So it's going to be a very tricky fixture this one.
Well, there's a lot to play for, Barry, in this fixture. You take a look at Manchester United. They are in 15th place, but that's because they played 1 game less than the rest of the league. They've got 6 points. Chelsea is just a couple to United on 8 points. They are in 8th place. So United with the incentive of knowing that if they do the business at Old Trafford, they climb above Chelsea on the log standings.
Yeah, Mike, and look, I think I'm glad you pointed out the points there as well, because I think the league position is probably the cherry on top, but the real thing that these clubs will be looking to is gain as many maximum points as you can. So get all 3 points. We know moving time is usually around about match day 9, match day 10, but you don't want to be too far away from the madding crowd, the top crowd, by the time you get to that. So that's why this fixture is very important, albeit that it's still early doors. So let's see how this one goes. Manchester United has got the incentive, but they're still, for me, at least this is a personal opinion, I believe that Manchester United is still a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde operation. So is Chelsea. So we don't know which one is going to show up. It's just going to be great to watch.
It's going to be great to watch. There could be goals in this one, Alois, and one of the key players will be Timo Werner. He scored a brace last weekend, had an assist. We saw Kai Havertz with improved performances as well. Those will be the attacking threat for Chelsea.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, that Chelsea have got very good players. They acquired quality this past transfer window. Timo Werner, like you said, he is a goal scorer, and they expect him to score goals. I'm liking also Kai Havertz as well. He is actually getting into the box. He's doing it more like the Frank Lampard of old, getting into the box from midfield as well. He's ghosting in, and he can actually score goals. But the only consolation for Manchester United, if Timo Werner scores, he has scored in draw matches.
Okay, I'm going to ask you for 2 predictions. I want a prediction, Alois, for the Manchester United-Chelsea game. And I also want a prediction for another game. But let's get through the Manchester-Chelsea predictions first.
I'll go with 2-1 for Manchester United in this match. I think the momentum is going to continue.
Baz?
Yeah, I'm going to go with a 1-0 victory to Manchester United in this one.
A penalty?
Possibly.
Fernandes is not dependable anymore.
Okay. Right. The other game I really want to just briefly, guys, touch on is Aston Villa versus Leeds. That's on tonight. That game, Leeds has played so well, but so has Aston Villa. How do you see this one going? Because both teams are bang on form. Aston Villa winning last week, and I know Leeds lost, but both teams have been playing so well.
Yeah, and it's really an issue that Leeds has been playing some great stuff and playing some fantastic football to watch. They are intense. They're probably one of the most intense teams in the Premier League, but they haven't been getting the results. By contrast, Aston Villa, in games whereby they've actually been under the cosh, have delivered a result. So for here, I would say 1-0 to Aston Villa.
Bunch?
Yeah, I'm with Barry on this one. When you look at Leeds, they play good football, but sometimes they lose while they're playing good football. Aston Villa, dynamic when going forward, and I can actually see the confidence that Grealish has got. He is making things happen, and he is giving them so much confidence going forward, and I think that they're going to win this one 2-1.
Okay, so Leeds being backed to lose once again to Aston Villa, who, if our pundits in studio are correct, will be perfect after 5 games. What a start it would have been for Dean Smith and Marvelous Nakamba.
In Germany, your weekend fixtures look like this. Stuttgart will entertain Cologne, while Union Berlin takes on Freiburg. Mainz will take on Borussia Mönchengladbach. Bayern Munich will take on Eintracht Frankfurt. RB Leipzig versus Hertha Berlin. It's Wolfsburg who will entertain Arminia Bielefeld, while Werder Bremen take on Hoffenheim. But there is the small matter of the first Riviera derby of the season. It is Borussia Dortmund taking on Schalke, and Borussia Dortmund are fresh off a disappointing 3-1 loss in the Champions League to Lazio, but will have a shot at getting back to winning ways in that derby against Schalke. This one is a big game and a little respected, Mike, but in terms of significance, this is a big game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big game, Barry, in terms of just the stature of the game. It's right up there with Borussia Dortmund, Bayern Munich. But Schalke have been playing well. And the fact that it's, of course, being played in an empty stadium, I think actually then further diminishes the stature of the Riviera derby. Borussia Dortmund, I think, will be tipped to win this one versus Schalke. The likes of Marco Reus are coming back, the Rolls Royce, this team captain at Borussia Dortmund, and I think they should just have a bit too much in attack for Schalke.
Bit too much for Schalke in attack. Let's go to Italy now, where Benevento will take on Napoli. These are just key fixtures out of Serie A. Genoa entertain Inter Milan, and then Lazio will take on Bologna. We're going to talk about it a bit more on Monday, but Alois, you got to say the pick of the fixtures in Italy is actually the Monday night football, which is AC Milan taking on Roma, and AC Milan fresh off a 3-1 victory over Celtic in the Europa League. AC Milan is purring, isn't it?
They are purring, and I am purring. I am in AC Milan. I'm in Azzurri. I'm in AC Milan. You know what? This team, when it ticks, the whole of the world vibrates, because they've got such a rich history. We have always said it, that we want our big European teams to buzz, and they are coming back, and you can feel it. Now they are facing a Roma, very tricky opponent, yes, but I'm sure that they can actually do the business with the confidence coming through. I hope that they manage this one. Once they do that, they can actually be saying we can actually gun for the Italian Serie A championship now.
That's just an appetizer for Monday's show. AC Milan taking on Roma on Monday Night Football in Italy.
ZiFM Sport, also home of the best of action from the continent. And of course, there's a big game in the north of Africa as the second leg of the semi-finals of the CAF Champions League. Al Ahly will take on Wydad Casablanca. Pito's men leading 2-0. And you've got to say, Alois, that the job is all but done. It'll take a monumental collapse for Wydad to get back into this one.
I don't think our Akli are going to collapse. You know, they'll be at home. They will be fencing their chances. I'm sure that they can actually score even by a bigger margin this time around, with confidence that they beat them away. Then now they're coming to their home ground. I've got a feeling, you know, like I've always said, I said it before, that I can see Pitso Mosimane just rewriting the history book. He is writing history, and it's just gonna come. It's like a script that is being written for Pitso Mosimane, and he is going to win it with our Akli, and another piece of history is going to be written.
And of course, just by way of an update, the other semi-final, the other second leg has been postponed to November the 1st after several players from Raja Casablanca tested positive for COVID-19. So Zamalek versus Raja Casablanca postponed until the 1st of November. The DStv Premiership, formerly known as the ABSA Premiership, kicks off tomorrow afternoon with a real barn burner. The Amakosi Kaizer Chiefs taking on the defending champions Mamelodi Sundowns, the team that pulled the rug from under the feet of Kaizer Motaung's men on the very last day of last season. Kamoyelo now without Pitso, but with a committee of coaches to guide them in the first DStv Premiership. Barry, from a marketing point of view, from a publicity point of view, the DStv Premiership couldn't have picked a bigger fixture or a better game to get proceedings underway.
Yeah, it couldn't have been scripted better, and I think DStv will be very proud of the way that the DStv Premiership is starting its journey. It's the first fixture to be played under the new banner as well. You've got the team that would have been champion in Kaizer Chiefs and the team that is the defending champion, and that is Mamelodi Sundowns. Two teams that are bang on form. Two teams that have two new dugouts in terms of the coaching staff. So again, we don't know what to expect. So the intrigue and the jeopardy is massive.
Alois, we saw improved performances from Kama Billiat after a season where he was hardly recognizable. He seemed to come into his own in the last 3-4 matches of last season, and then notably, of course, in the MTN 8 match that was played last weekend. We saw flashes of brilliance from Kama Billiat. I think he had a couple of assists, some really good set pieces that he took in that game. Kama Billiat, once again, will be the star attraction in this game. The South African media wanting to see if he's over his worst.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. Kama, all the eyes are going to be on Kama, you know, just because now he is a player that came from Sundowns amid a lot of talk. Now he's at Kaizer Chiefs, where, like you said, last season he didn't really do well, and the media has been on his back. And now he has played well these last few matches, and probably they are haters, they are lovers. Some want to see him succeed, some want to see him fail. So everybody will be watching him. But I think this is what Kama really needs if he wants to change the mindset of the fans, the haters, of everybody alike. He needs games like this because all eyes are on him. Psychologically, he needs to be fit. He needs to put his mind in order and come out of this game and perform. Lucky enough, Kaizer Chiefs are doing better. They are playing better football right now, so it can actually help him. And on the other side, Mamelodi Sundowns coming from a defeat, and they don't look like they are the side that was winning the league last season. Like you said, with a committee of coaches, it's getting confusing in that camp, and I don't know what is going to happen there. So for me, I think this is a good platform for Kama Billiat to actually redeem himself and to make himself a darling of the crowd again.
The other fixtures, Baroka entertain Maritzburg United. Bloemfontein Celtic, featuring, of course, Ronald Fumbidzai, former Caps United player. They take on Golden Arrows, which features Knox Mutizwa. Cape Town City versus Chippa United. Amazulu, they are taking on Orlando Pirates. Terence Jugamanja has enjoyed a barnstorming start for Pirates. Can he score in this one? Supersport United, led by Caetano Tembo, they'll be looking to go one better and challenge for the title this season. They entertain Black Leopards. Stellenbosch versus Swallows, and Chakuma will take on TS Galaxy.
I wish you had said it in full. Chakuma, Mazivandila. And that is a good place for us to end the show. We'll catch you on Monday, everybody. Thanks for joining us. May God richly bless you. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Manande, out.
And it's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
The biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.